Hey everyone, we're now getting into the second week of September 2022 and we're doing an update on drought conditions around northern New England. This is the Amminusic River. For the past couple months it's been running dangerously low, below a half a foot. 2 days ago it was running at 0.4 feet. Normal is about 3 feet. Today we finally hit 3.5 feet, so it's about normal right now. The highest I've ever seen this river in my life was 11 feet. And it's been a long time since we've seen that. We haven't even seen that in the recent spring thaws. It may be back to normal just for today, but in a week I bet it's going to be back down to around a foot. We only got 2 inches of rain. It's definitely going to help, but we need a lot more to keep up with this. Here's what it looked like before. Very, very low water conditions. Usually that's white water rapids coming down this steep incline. And here's what it looks like after. Let's go further up the road to other places. On this area of river, that beach is usually completely underwater in the summertime, and in the wintertime it's usually raging rapids going by here. There's always this deep pool here. And there's even a giant wall of debris here. No, that's not a beaver dam, it's just a bunch of junk. Oh wow, we can see quite a difference here. The water levels are much higher. Really deep water here. It's been so dry this year that even though this is a normal river level, the grass really grew down closer to the water. And now all that's under. Just driving up here today, a lot of Vermont and New Hampshire, it already looks like fall. It's getting pretty colorful already. It shouldn't be, it's 2 months early. It's just so dry, the trees are going into early hibernation. This right here is Zealand River, which is running the lowest I've ever seen it. Across the street. Very, very low. We'll show you a little bit more upstream where it looks a little worse. Alright everyone, we just made it up to Zealand River. Pretty good amount of flow today. It's amazing to think that that's a lot. I've been here in the past where this river has been so deep the entire beach has been underwater. But it's a good improvement from what we had the rest of the year. Good amount of trees dying. This is sure to help. Here's a little bit more upstream. I've seen this river in the winter time when that entire rocky beach has been underwater. They did some excavating here recently because it washed out the road. And they also, with an excavator, built that wall over there so it doesn't go through the woods, aiming more water at that bridge we were just on. We're doing a little better. Looking good. A little bit further upstream, this section of roadway here also washed out and they had to rebuild it, running pretty low. Right now it's early morning, but as we get into the afternoon, these rivers will get a little bit more shallow since the overnight hours, the groundwater starts moving a tiny bit more. I remember this spot here 10 years ago. Where I am now was woods against the road. That's how much this corner's eroding at the road. It used to be over there more snug against the trees where it used to flow. It's been moving over here more and more every year. We also have a good amount of improvement here further up on the Zealand River. The riverbed looks even worse. This is only about a quarter mile up the road. Down there only looks like it has a bit of water flowing is because it's a little bit slower. In these fast moving areas you can really see how dry it is. And here we are another quarter mile or so further up. At least we got some good flow coming. This is what the Ammonosac River looks like before Zealand connects with it. Alright everyone, now we're here going to check out lower falls on the Amminusic River. Then we will go check out upper falls. So this is a brief 10-minute walk to the waterfall. This used to be the old main road. If you go in the parking lot on the other end of this, which is about the same distance, you can do either. You can still see the yellow line leading right up to this very faintly. Wow, check out these culverts. Didn't even know that was here. That one's awesome, going underneath the train tracks. And the drainage ditch is still working really nice. Based on the trail, a lot of people come down here to see that little stream. It's just so clean. Downstream, it's a very nice, flat riverbed, extremely slippery since it's all one gigantic slab. Always a great place to swim, and considering lately almost every day has been in the 90s, I bet it's very, very warm. This thing kind of acts like a whirlpool, so in the winter time it actually creates an ice disk on most years. You see right in the center all the debris collecting in the middle of the slow-moving whirlpool. All right, everyone, here we are. You can still see some of the pavement when this used to be a road. We're here, and it's flowing a good amount. Look at the whirlpool today. The whole reason this pool's here is because of all this rock put here by the railroad almost 100 years ago. See their old support? They used to have a railroad trestle right here. It's pretty deep. Look at the waterfall, looking awesome up there. We'll walk up there in just a moment and get a really close-up look. Here we are at Upper Ammonosic Falls, and it's extremely low. That actually looks kind of nice. People built a rock wall. That's what's holding this up. Very, very low. I've seen this river when it's so high, the rapids, it's twirling through that round pool right there. All right, everyone, we have just reached Upper Falls on the Ammonosic River. They got these really cool formations of rock. Look at that. That shows you how it didn't really get that high. That dam right there was made probably by a bunch of children. Months ago I saw that. And it actually was effective. It kept the water up here in the swimming hole about a foot or two higher. Look at that. Foam circling. That's kind of cool. Over here is pretty awesome too. Look at that. That's just spectacular. I'm hoping we get a gigantic flood at some point. I've been here on years when it's all the way up inside this shelf. Got a decent amount of flow. All right, everyone, so right now we're starting at the beginning of the Sacko River, which starts here at Saco Lake. The dam right here is completely dry. If you remember a while back, we unclogged this in a video. It had a big beaver dam across the top of it. Yeah, check it out. There's enough flow coming into the lake that you can see the current right there. This lake probably has a good half a dozen sources small streams, most of which are usually dried up in the summer months. But look at that, that's good to see. Last time we came here, that wasn't flowing at all. We unclogged this in the spring. There was actually a beaver dam across it. That's a good pile of my debris right there. But just a couple weeks ago, probably a couple days ago, this water was a foot below the dam, and that left giant mud bars everywhere. But you see there's just a tiny, tiny trickle leaving. Let's go downstream. Check it out. We got a good improvement of flow. Now let's go check out the culvert underneath the street. That completely stopped flowing. It dried up for over a 6-week period. Here's across the street. As you can see, the culvert has completely dried up. We walked through this thing only about a month ago, and it had a foot of water inside it, a big plunge pool. Yeah, you can see any flow is below the surface. The water table's getting really low. There's no flow in this creek bed. Let me jump down here. All right, here's the start of the culvert. Got a good amount of water going in it. It's just a beautiful day. It's misty and cloudy and nice and cool. And here we are out the other side. A nice healthy amount of water. This is only about a half a mile downstream from that dried up culvert. As you can see, the Sacko River has collected a tiny bit of water from a couple waterfalls that still have a little bit of trickling. Is any water coming out of this culvert pipe anymore? Nothing. This stream dried up. There's a tiny bit of water here. Driving by on the road, you can't even tell there's water down here. Typically, all these rocks down at the bottom underwater. And at least it's flowing. It's not a ton, but it's a good improvement. It looks like some very recent erosion right there. Here's the Sacko River crossing the road. Not much. Right over here is where we put a time-lapse trail camera. Let me show you what that got. All right, this is about a quarter mile further down this steep hill. Here's another little river that would ordinarily connect with the Saco. Completely dried up, bone dry. Now here's another river that was completely dried up last time we came by. This just goes across the street and it enters the Sacko River that was going underneath the last bridge I just showed. Here we go, the Sacko River is really close to the road. Right here you can see where the pavement breaks. Not too long ago, maybe about 10 years ago, this whole section of road got washed out when this river flooded over it. Here we are a little bit further down on the Sacko River. Now we're going to drive down pretty far and see what it looks like once it becomes substantial. Right now we're approaching the bridge of Ripley Falls. If you notice right here off to the side, there's so much rock on the edge of the road. That's because a few years back, this river flooded so badly that it couldn't fit underneath this bridge here. It flooded across the road, leaving it closed for a little bit. as it deposited so many rocks and other stuff. That's what it looks like, barely flowing. Ripley Falls is up there, about maybe a mile or so. Wow, we got much better flow here. Looks really good. I remember in years past, I think it was 2011, this bridge could not handle it. It went all over the road. Road was closed for quite a few days. They had to clean up so many rocks. Yes, that's true. If you walk just down here, maybe 200 feet from the bridge, you can still see a lot of the rocks that were left behind because it cut through and flooded this entire forest here, and then it crossed the street more up here. See where all that rock is? Now we're starting to pick up a little bit water. Got a little bit of flow here. Right here on this section of road, the river was at risk of washing it out. So a while back, they had to rebuild the entire retaining wall here with excavators. And you see they made this giant mound in the middle of the river, so the majority of the time it's over there. I don't know why they'd want it to flow here during high times, why they wouldn't just build it back up, but you can see it's very low. We got a lot better flow here. Just a little bit further down on the Sacko River. This section of river is doing a bit better. Looks really nice with all that flat granite everywhere. Right here is the stream that leads to Arathusa Waterfalls. It's very dry, so I bet the waterfall is very dry. Maybe sometime, if the drought keeps up, we'll take a walk up there someday. Here we are at the stream that heads up to Arathusa Waterfalls. It's doing a little better. All right, we're right next to the Sacko River campground, and take a look at this. Look at how many dead trees are up on that mountain because there's not a lot of soil to keep moisture. All them pine trees are dead. Somewhere up there along that mountain, there was also a gigantic forest fire about 2 months ago, closing all the local trails. It has since been put out. So take a look at this area of river. Extremely dry. Walking through some pretty high grass. I'm gonna get all wet now. This section of river has filled in a little bit more, but as you can see, it sometimes rages so much. They had to build this gigantic erosion wall a few years back. Over here, you can see how much it erodes. At least we're starting to fill back up. Not looking so bad anymore. Last time we were here, I zoomed up into this mountain. You can't see it today with all the fog, but the entire side of the mountain is all completely dead, every single tree. That's because this area is used to getting a lot of rain, which we haven't been getting. Today, all this increase in flow you're seeing is only the result of 2 inches of rain, which is not a lot. So that's why I believe these rivers are gonna go back down critically low within only a week or so, because we're gonna be very hot again after tomorrow. But the reason a lot of the mountains are dying is because there's not much soil. It's used to getting a lot of rain, keeping it wet. There's not much soil, so just a couple weeks without rain, things are gonna start dying in this type of area. Driving around here, it does definitely look like extremely early spring, doesn't it? The trees have just lost so many leaves. The Sacko River, especially as it starts to go down more, has a major erosion problem. A lot of the properties around here have to build retaining walls or risk their house being washed away. A lot of the yards around here also do flood. It's actually considerably warmer here than it was further up at higher elevation. Yes, this river does have a lot more flow. Last time we visited, there wasn't anything flowing up there. It was just a gigantic beach. But it does not look to be deep enough where the culverts are flowing, does it? They look wet in there. It looks like maybe earlier today it was flowing. We never got heavy rain that I know of. It's just been drizzling for the past couple days, amounting to about 2 inches overall. No, these things have not been flowing at all. That's just rain dribbling in there. But let's take a quick walk through. Just check out this awesome erosion wall they built a few years back. When this river goes up near flood stage, all these properties on the opposite side of the river typically go underwater. This house right here is in quite a bunch of danger. They don't have that wall, and I'm sure it eats away at their property every single time. Just take a look at all the trees around here. Very stressed, very weak. We're not going to show as many dead trees as I did in the original drought video I made, just because it's not a great day for filming that kind of stuff, it being cloudy and all in the distance. This right here is part of the river gauge, so you can monitor from a computer Alright, it's been pretty nice the past couple days. Past couple days, it's been 60 degrees and constantly drizzling every hour of the day. Just light sprinkling. It's very nice. This whole summer has been the driest and above average temperatures. It's been horrible. Every single day has been in the 90s or close to it. We finally got 3 days now of relief, but next week, it's all hot again. No more rain in sight. That's what I meant by the beginning of this video. These river levels may be back to normal temporarily, but I think it's only going to last a few days before they're all back again, because this ground is going to start absorbing that like crazy. Notice how nice this road is I'm driving on. The trees, for the most part, look healthy. I've been to some areas where they have really good drainage in the soil. Trees are all dead. I've seen areas, hundreds and hundreds of acres. It's all like petrified trees, pine trees, all bald. Doesn't look good at all. It's horrible. Wow, this patch of forest is a little bit concerning. This looks exactly like winter. It definitely looks like winter, but this is August. It was so dry out this year that literally look what it did to the forest. The only thing you're seeing that's alive basically is cedar trees. The maple trees right here, it baked them. There's no more leaves on them. Typically this whole thing would be raspberry bushes and wildflowers. This was thinned about 4 years ago, and since it was thinned by the logging company, a bunch of berry bushes grew. Now they're cracking. This all should be green. It's because of the huge lack of rain and month-long heat wave. All right, everyone, it just started raining again, and these low-lying clouds and fog look absolutely beautiful. It might be kind of hard to see once we start heading down into the valley. This right here is the official start of the Sacko River. It starts here at Saco Lake in New Hampshire, and it ends in Maine. Here we go, driving down right into all the mist. That just looks so beautiful, the clouds right against the nice trees. Good to see a lot of the water around here is flowing pretty nice. Now we're going to get to see the Sacko River right here. How much is it flowing? This is Mount Willard. A lot of the forest around here still looks very dead. And a lot of these leafy trees are not going to come back. The pine trees here, if it kept raining nice, a lot of them would recover, but the ones that do not have needles anymore most likely are not coming back. Pine trees cannot survive losing their needles, usually. Definitely not these days. Yep, the forest is still looking very thin around here. This is one of the only rainstorms the area's had all summer. Usually the weather forecast isn't accurate this year. There's so many times it's said that we were going to get rain, but it just never happened, or it was just a few sprinkles, which isn't beneficial. If you wet leaves or just wet the lawn and it doesn't get into the dirt, that's actually worse than it not raining at all, because it evaporates quickly in the sunshine, taking more moisture than it originally had. So now we're in the town of Bartlett, New Hampshire. We're going to look at some really big culvert pipes next to a bridge, because the bridge wasn't big enough to handle the Sacko River. Yep, the trees around here do not look that good at all. They look very bare. And today only being the 7th of the month, it shouldn't look like this. This looks more like early October, when the trees are all becoming thin. Trees lately have been very weak. I remember years ago when it was much wetter, if I would cut down a pine tree, or matter of fact any tree, usually the stump would start growing again. These days, in the past couple years, I have not seen any pine tree regenerate by cutting it down to the ground. Just doesn't happen anymore. It's too dry. Pine trees love a lot of moisture. Even a lot of leafy trees I've been cutting down lately, they don't grow back from the stumps. And it's just so depressing being out spending months of the year in logging forests. That area I work in, those forests look horrible since the spring. I'd say hundreds, probably millions of acres of that stuff is just doing awful. When they clear cut land, usually by the end of the year, it's already turned into a grassland. Then trees start growing within a few years. This year, all the baby trees, seedlings that they replant, they're just dying. It's too dry. So are the culverts flowing today? They installed those culverts about a decade ago because the bridge couldn't handle how big the river is becoming. The bed just keeps eroding wider and wider. Here's a very foggy section of road. It's a high elevation road that's wrapping around Mount Washington as I head back into Maine. This road is really cool. It's so dense, all this fog. Anyways, everyone, I hope today's video was interesting. Thanks for watching and have a great day.